Hello! Welcome to Shipwrecks, welcome to Ghost Stories, welcome to Sleepy Kitty Gideon time. Finally a stream where at least one of the cats is chill. If you can hear off in the background there, Little Bear is being less chill. He's attacking a screen. Alright. So, doing another Ghost Stories Live. Apologies for the late start. Ramen always takes longer to cook than I expected to. Let me know how I'm looking, how I'm sounding, if the music is too loud, if it is not loud enough, all the things. Tell me how cute my girl is. Hey, Rain. Oh, Rain says, down for some open mic fic night. A nice break from writing some Alex/Chloe because I can't ship normal things. I mean, I can see that being good. Alex Chen, Chloe Price. Let's see. So I guess Chen Price or Price Chen? Not one I've heard before, but yeah. I think that could work. Alright. Because sometimes I do ship normal things. This one is Pricefield. So I feel like Set to Break came up in the last Ghost Stories because we were talking about, as usual, talking about Max's parents being trash, or maybe that was in the last Ghost Stories that I posted that wasn't live. At any rate, there's gonna be more of Max's parents sucking. Laser says, Gideon, you precious baby, you are doing a great job being a kitty. She is. She's perfect. And Mia says, hello, the sound is on point, as is the baby. Gideon, like Beyonce, she is always on the beat. She is always on point. Rain says of Chen Price Chen, let's put these two trauma babies together and watch the sparks fly. Yeah, I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing that one, or reading that one. But yes, hello to everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you all. Alright, so as with last time, with Weeping Angel, I'm going to not look at chat while I am actually reading the fic. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves, you know, chat up a storm, and I will check in with it after the story. And yeah, you can ask me questions about the story, about Ms. Gideon, about Mr. Bear. Mr. Bear, what are you doing, sir? Alright, so Set to Break is Fisher Pricefield, also known as Kid Pricefield, or Young Pricefield, or just, you know, Pricefield when they were wee. It's one of my holiday fics, which is a thing I never thought I would be doing. And then it just kind of happened. But it is set on Labor Day. You know, that classic holiday you write holiday fics about. Everybody's favorite holiday fic holiday. I'm guessing Belmax is also watching the stream because I just heard V laughing through the door. Love you, baby. Alright, so this time I am going to turn off the music properly and I'm going to check the chat to make sure that I did not mute myself. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But I'm gonna wait before I actually start reading the story this time. Because sometimes we learn from our mistakes. Sometimes. But I forget what exactly inspired this story, other than just loving writing baby Pricefield. Oh, good, Laser says. I'm good. All right. I want to say it was also in some way tied with Pricefield Week, which was, I guess, a couple of years ago, because I know I did an illustration for it, which I meant to download today, but forgot to. Oh, good. Mia confirms that I can be heard. All right. Let's get this show on the road. Set to Break by Ghost in the Hella. Summary. It's Labor Day 2008, and Max and Chloe hit the beach for one last hurrah before the end of summer vacation. Notes. Originally intended to be released on Labor Day, but clearly that did not happen. Let's see, it was published on... looks like maybe was that October 10th? Or was that October 8th or August 10th. I'm not sure how AO3 does their formatting of dates. But at any rate, clearly that did not happen. So instead, enjoy it for day 2 of Pricefield Week 2019 for the prompt Pirates. Accompanying illustration can be found on my Tumblr. Title from the Interpol song The Lighthouse. Which Belmex has responded with a woo, if you couldn't hear that. And now you know why the pre-recorded ones take so long for me to edit. This isn't the last day that they'll spend together. Max knows that. Still, it's hard to avoid the sensation that everything's changing. The dead leaves that crunch under their feet as they walk from the bus stop toward the beach feel like proof of that. Chloe runs ahead of her to gleefully stomp the brown, crackling leaves that litter the walkway, turning around from time to time to give Max an enthused grin. Max follows more slowly, trying to soak it all in. The leaves, the sounds, the smells, Chloe's smile. She wishes it felt more like summer. It's the last day of summer vacation that she gets to spend with her best friend, probably forever. It should be summer hot. Blue skies, bright sun, ice cream trucks chiming Pop Goes the Weasel down every street, sweat making their hair stick to the backs of their necks. Instead, it's barely even shorts weather. Normally, Max loves autumn, thinks it's the prettiest season of the year. The leaves bursting into color like nature's own fireworks display. The moody gray skies and bare branches when it edges closer to winter. All of it practically begs to pose for her camera. Plus her birthday's at the end of September, so why not love autumn? But this year all autumn means is that she's closer to saying goodbye to Arcadia Bay and goodbye to Chloe. Farewell to the only home she's ever known and the only real friend she's ever had. Hey, Slowpoke! Suddenly Max's vision is filled with the blue of Chloe's eyes. She can feel the cold tip of Chloe's nose pressing against her own. Chloe's breath smells like the watermelon they'd been devouring until Chloe's mom chased them both out of the house. Max is startled to an abrupt halt by her closeness. Chloe cackles and pulls back. Dude, your face! You and all... Chloe opens her eyes wide and crosses them, tilting her head to one side and letting her mouth gape open vacantly. Did not, Max protests, shoving Chloe's shoulder and trying to hide her face. She can feel a blush building and can't do anything to stop it. She's always blushed easily, and over the years, Chloe has figured out hundreds of ways to exploit this weakness. Uh-huh, sure. Chloe grabs at Max's arm and pulls her forward. Come on, she groans. We've got to be back in time for the barbecue or Mom's gonna lose it. I want to actually have time to have some fun first, so quit dragging your feet and come on. Max struggles to keep up with Chloe's long strides as she's tugged along, giggling helplessly as she's forcibly dragged out of her melancholy reverie. Chloe's always been good at pulling her out of herself. What is Max going to do without her? Sand pours into her shoes as she runs onto the beach, scratchy against the soles of her feet. She shakes the thought out of her mind and focuses instead on the warmth of Chloe's hand wrapped firmly around her wrist. Be present, she reminds herself. Hold on to these moments. So many things could happen between now and the end of September. Maybe her dad's job offer will fall through. Maybe they won't be able to get the house her parents put an offer on. Maybe her parents will decide to let Max stay behind in Arcadia Bay with the prices. Maybe her parents will take her aside again, and this time they'll be laughing that it was all a joke, or a misunderstanding, or something like that, and everything will stay the same as it's always been. Well, except for school, of course. Tomorrow, Chloe starts at Blackwell Academy. Even if it's all a big misunderstanding and Max isn't really moving to Seattle after all, that'll still be different. Max has always known that Chloe's really smart, but it wasn't until she got her acceptance letter to Blackwell Academy that it fully sank in that Chloe is really smart. Which is super cool, but it does make Max feel stupid? Lonely? Apart from actually being pretty excited about the start of the school year, Chloe hasn't been acting any differently. But Max still feels sort of different. It's not like they were ever equal, really. Chloe's always been smarter, older, braver, stronger, cooler, taller, prettier. But Chloe never made a big deal about any of that stuff, so it was easy to pretend that it didn't matter. The letter from Blackwell Academy was sort of like the universe finally came to its senses and realized that Chloe's special, and Max isn't. And then Max's dad got that job offer in Seattle, and everything started happening so quickly. Dude, hippie, what's up with you? Chloe stops so abruptly that Max crashes into her and nearly bowls them both over. Chloe rocks with the movement, keeping them both on their feet. She chuckles. Space cadet? I'm not. R2? What planet were you on, Caulfield? Uranus, Max scoffs. Chloe's eyebrows shoot up and she laughs. Ew, what? Hope you brought some toilet paper at least. Max rolls her eyes, feeling another hot sweep of blush crawl over her skin. You're so immature. She tugs her wrist free from Chloe's hand and gives her a small and ineffectual push. Oh, says the girl making jokes about Uranus. Chloe hip checks her, making Max stumble. She quickly wraps one long arm around Max's shoulders, pulling her steady. At least from this angle, Chloe can't see Max's blushes clearly. Max wraps her own arm around Chloe's waist as they walk closer to the water and leans into the familiar softness of Chloe's favorite sweatshirt. So really, Chloe continues, what's up? Max shrugs. So, you had that Blackwell Academy orientation thing the other day. Chloe stiffens slightly but keeps walking. Uh-huh. How was it? It all looked pretty awesome in the brochure. Max manages to keep from sounding envious, but she still sounds a bit wistful. Yeah, it did. Chloe's voice is oddly flat. It was cool, I guess. Really big and, kind of weirdly fancy. Glad I don't have to live there. Really? Why? Chloe shrugs. I don't know. I like my house better. More normal. The science teacher seems nice. The students are... She pauses and Max cranes her neck to look up at her face. Chloe looks surprisingly serious and more than a little disgusted. They're rich. Max furrows her brow. Okay. Just, I don't know. It's weird. I'm used to normal schools with, normal students. Not rich kids. I don't know, they seem kind of snobby and stuck up. She squeezes Max's shoulder and grins. They're not cool like you. Max chuckles. I am so not cool, Chloe. Pfft, I'd be friends with someone who wasn't cool. Chloe shifts to trap Max in a headlock and starts giving her noogies. Max squeals and struggles, laughing as she tries to shove Chloe's knuckles away from her head. Max finally breaks free and runs several feet away before stopping. If I'm so cool, why are you giving me noogies? She squeals again and dodges when Chloe lunges toward her. Because you may be cool, but I'm still the coolest. After a few more successful dodges from Max, Chloe puts up her hands in a placating gesture. Truce? Max eyes her suspiciously, trying, mostly unsuccessfully, to contain her giggles. Finally, she succumbs to the puppy dog eyes Chloe's giving her. Okay, truce, but you were the only one attacking. Fair enough. Chloe settles her arm back around Max's shoulders, to Max's pleased and somewhat anxious surprise. Anyway, maybe the rich kids won't be that bad. Maybe they were just nervous to be starting a new school, too. Maybe. But who says I'm nervous? Of course Chloe's not nervous. Max is nervous. Chloe may be starting a new school, but it's a school for smart people like her. She's bound to make lots of new friends. Smart friends. Friends who can actually keep up their end of a conversation about science instead of just listening in awe like some kind of boring groupie. Chloe's still going to be living in Arcadia Bay, and nothing's really going to change that much for her. She'll still live in the same house, ride the same bus around the same town, swim in the same bay, eat at the same restaurants. Max is the one whose whole world is about to be turned upside down. Hey! Max is startled when Chloe stops on a dime and lets go of her, swiveling to face her. Max's abruptly empty arm hangs suspended for a moment before slowly drifting down to her side. Huh? Let's battle the Kraken! Max blinks in surprise. Battle the... Are you serial? Chloe rolls her eyes. Yeah, I'm Captain Frickin' Crunch. Come on. We haven't battled the Kraken in forever. That jerk probably thinks he owns the bay now. Chloe, we didn't even bring our bathing suits. Plus, it's kind of cold. Like you're actually even gonna go in the water? Here. Chloe pulls off her sweatshirt and pushes it into Max's hands. You can wear this. It'll keep you warm. What? I totally go in the water. Despite her protests, Max slips off her small backpack and pulls on the proffered hoodie. It's warm and smells like Chloe's sweat. She wrinkles her nose at Chloe. Have you washed this shirt? Like, ever? It's about to get washed by the bay if you're not too chicken. I'm not chicken. Whatever you say, landlubber. Landlubber? Max musters up as much of her wounded pirate pride as she can. I'll show ye who's a landlubber, ye scurvy dog, she growls in her best pirate voice, which mostly just sounds like she's got a sore throat, but it's enough to show Chloe that she's in the game. She starts marching toward the water, and Chloe lets out a whooping cheer. Hell yes, Long Max Silver! Chloe drops her own voice into a gravelly attempt at a piratical accent. Arr, let's show that Kraken who rules these bays of Arcadia. She starts running at the bay with a pirate yell. Whoa, Captain Bluebeard, hold on! Chloe reluctantly skids to a stop and looks at Max expectantly. What be the matter, matey? We shouldn't get our phones wet. Chloe snorts. You brought your phone? Dude, why? She rolls her eyes. Oh, wait, never mind. I forgot your mom's a total paranoia queen. She is not, Max argues defensively as she unzips her backpack and removes the phone from her pocket to put it inside. She wishes Chloe wouldn't tease her about this because, honestly, she's not wrong, but Max still feels a need to stick up for her mother. Uh-huh. Did you remember to text her when we got off the bus so she knows you didn't crash or get abducted? Oh, and did you remember to text her when we got on the bus so she knows you survived the horrors of the bus stop? Did you remember to text her when we left my room so she knows I didn't kidnap you? And don't forget to... Chloe, come on, knock it off. Max's jaw is clenching and her heart is thudding with something that's not quite anger, but is near enough to it to make little difference. She zips up her backpack and looks around for a safe place to stash it. We could bury it for safekeeping, Chloe suggests. Just like real pirates. We could have actual buried treasure. Despite Chloe's sudden enthusiasm, Max has major reservations about her suggestion. I think maybe it'd be better to hide it in the trees. I don't really want sand getting in my everything. Chloe sighs. Yeah, I guess you're right, Mom. Before Max can object, Chloe's enthusiasm returns. Hey, we can look for cutlasses. She makes a few dramatic sword-swinging gestures in the air. Oh, god Damn, I should have grabbed my cutlass. Oh well. Max starts walking toward the tree line. That's a good point. Can't battle the Kraken unarmed, right? Chloe snorts. Speak for yourself, Max. She puts up her fists and cycles them in the air like an old-timey boxer preparing for fisticuffs. I can take that sucker bare-knuckled. Oh, can you now? Max asks in an amused tone as she searches for an appropriate hiding place for her backpack. She doesn't want it to be too visible from the beach since it's bright pink and yellow, but she also wants to be able to find it before they get back on the bus. Sure I can. Captain Bluebeard can do anything. Why, I could take him with one arm tied behind my back. Chloe puts one arm behind her back to demonstrate. Max wedges her backpack between a mossy rock and a broad, crooked tree. There's a patch of mushrooms growing on one side of the tree that's pretty distinctive looking, and somebody carved their initials into the bark just a hair below Max's eyeline. Perfect. She turns to look at Chloe, who's searching the ground for good sticks, even with one arm still held behind her back. Then why are you looking for a cutlass? Hey, just 'cause I can doesn't mean I have to. Chloe snatches up a stick and gives it an experimental swing. She follows up her satisfied nod with a wink at Max. Besides, I wouldn't want to show off. She shoulder checks Max lightly. Don't want to make you too jealous of my pirate prowess. She offers the stick to Max. This one's pretty good. You want it? Apparently I'm the one who needs it, Ms. One Arm tied behind my back. Max takes the stick and hefts it appreciatively. It's got just the right amount of curve to it to look vaguely like a cutlass, and it's a nice weight, neither too heavy nor too light. That's Captain One Arm tied behind my back, Chloe corrects her. She picks up several sticks and starts testing them exuberantly against the side of a tree. Both friends wince as one of the sticks shatters. Chloe smiles sheepishly. Guess that one wouldn't stand up to the Kraken. When they're both suitably armed to confront their legendary and imaginary foe, they leave Max's backpack behind and head for the shore. Several yards away from the water, Chloe suddenly kicks off her shoes and starts running toward the waves, brandishing her makeshift sword and letting out a wild banshee scream. Sorry, Gideon. In a mild panic, Max looks toward the lifeguard to see if Chloe's screaming is going to earn them a lecture. To her relief and moderate concern, the lifeguard is busy picking at his fingernails and appears to be completely unmoved by the screaming and thrashing of a teenage girl in the waves. Good thing she's not drowning, Max mutters under her breath. Chloe's stick, dripping salt water, smacks the sand in front of Max's feet, snapping Max back to attention. She looks up to find Chloe grinning at her. Ahoy there, matey, Chloe growls, and holy crap, she is drenched. Water is absolutely pouring off of her. She's even got bits of seaweed in her hair. She's panting and covered with goosebumps, and her eyes are bright and full of glee. Are you gonna stand there and let your captain battle this fearsome beast of the bays alone? Or are you gonna raise your cutlass and join the fight like the salty sea dog that you are? Before Max can even form an answer, Chloe's running headlong into the waves again. Max winces as Chloe meets a powerful wave head-on and is swallowed up and flipped head over heels before being dumped roughly into the sand. Chloe pulls herself back up quickly with a giddy laugh and charges in again, waving her stick and yelling made-up pirate insults. Come and get me, you scurvy squid, you grog-swilling son of a barnacle. I'll send you back to Davy Jones, you tentacled tarnation. It happens over and over in an unchanging pattern. Chloe charges fearlessly into a swell, yelling and flailing her makeshift weapon, before getting swept up and bullied onto the shore, then gleefully getting up and doing it all again. Her energy seems to be without limit, as does her courage. Max's heart fills with something. Admiration, maybe. But admiration shouldn't make you feel queasy, should it? Like your stomach's all full of butterflies? So maybe there's some envy mixed in there, too. Or something. Something as confusing as it is powerful. Max wraps her arms around her stomach. Chloe's hoodie really does smell like her. It's like Chloe's essence is embedded in the very fabric of it. She tugs the hood around close to her face and sniffs. It smells like Chloe's shampoo, sweet and comfortingly familiar. It occurs to Max suddenly that that's probably an extremely weird thing to do, smelling your best friend's hoodie, and she drops the hood and gives her cutlass a couple of awkward swings to try to chase away the feeling that it leaves behind. She shuffles off her tennis shoes and ankle socks and digs her toes into the damp sand, letting the resulting thrill of cold dispel the lingering cloud of weirdness. "Are ye a pirate, or are ye a cowardly landlubber?" Chloe demands breathlessly as she stomps towards Max once more. This time she waits for a response, cocking her head to one side expectantly. Her hands are empty, her play sword lost somewhere in the bay. The waves behind her are daunting in their ferocity. Max swallows hard. Soon the weather will be too cold for even the bravest of pirates to want to play in the bay. This might be the last time they get to do this together. Does she really want to spend the whole time watching Chloe nervously from the beach? Sniffing her hoodie and feeling like a huge freak? The waves might be terrifying, but are they any scarier than what she's feeling right now? She raises her stick, and Chloe's grin brightens. "I be a pirate, cap'n," she declares. "That be the fightin' spirit," Chloe crows, raising an imaginary sword in her empty hand. Max doesn't charge into the waves with wild and careless abandon, but after taking a deep breath to steel herself, she does stride toward the receding edge of the water with grave determination. Chloe doesn't charge in either this time. She follows Max's lead, watching her friend with undisguised amusement. They watch the waves gather and grow before they rush toward the shore. Max holds her ground until the waves slam against the sand several feet in front of her. She hops back with an involuntary squeak and jogs backward, eyes squeezed shut as a thin wash of cold salt water races toward her bare feet. Max waits for Chloe to tease her for her cowardice. When no taunts are forthcoming, Max dares to open one of her eyes. Chloe's still standing where Max left her. The water is not quite up to the tops of her feet, and then it's lower, then lower still, and then gone. Max strides again toward the water's edge and watches the waves gather. She holds out her cutlass and tries to brace herself. She can feel it when Chloe steps up to stand next to her. The taller the waves grow, the faster Max's heart races. When they break, she yelps and darts back again. When she opens her eyes, Chloe is where Max left her, the water rising over her ankles. Chloe's quietly looking back over her shoulder at Max, not teasing, not quite smiling, watching and waiting. The pattern repeats again and again. Max musters up her courage and steps up to the oncoming waves, only to be driven back when they smash into the shore. Her borrowed sweatshirt grows damp and cool with ocean spray. Her feet are sandy and wet. Her heartbeat in her ears is almost louder than the waves. She gets a little closer to the water every time, and Chloe stays where she leaves her. The water is halfway up Chloe's shins, then below her knees, then above, then nearly to her hips. Chloe is never afraid, no matter how deep the water or how strong the waves. She doesn't tease, but Max is embarrassed anyway. Eventually, Chloe reaches out a hand to Max as they wait for the next giant wave to come in. Holding hands with Chloe is the most natural thing in the world. They hold hands all the time, always have, ever since they were little. So why does the feel of Chloe's cold fingers in her own suddenly make Max's heart leap into her throat? It scares her the way she feels, but it also makes her brave. The water is ice cold, and it strikes her shins with enough force to sting. Max is knocked back a few staggering steps, dragging Chloe along with her. Their wet hands still cling together. Max starts to laugh, and Chloe follows suit a few seconds later. When Chloe leads Max further into the water, she follows with little hesitation. Soon the waves are strong enough that when they come crashing in, they sweep both friends up and tumble them head over heels before depositing them on the sand. The water grows too strong for them to keep holding hands, but Max's fear doesn't return. She's as in tune with the pulse of the bay as Chloe is now. When they get dumped into the sand, they both laugh and clamber back to their feet and charge in again. Max whacks her stick at the waves to beat them back until eventually the stick is ripped from her fingers and lost in the bay. She's freezing cold and soaking wet and sure to be covered with bruises, and she can't stop laughing. It's terrifying and exhilarating. Max is one with the salt and the strength of the waves. The water flows through her and Chloe both. They're all connected, all bound together. Max is the water, is Chloe, is everything. For the first time in a long while, being upside down and tossed all around like a rag doll feels okay. Max doesn't know where she's going or what she'll do next, but it's all okay. She's got everything she needs. She and Chloe are together. They are forever. They are eternal. They are always. They are blue and beautiful and strong and perfect and one. Max isn't sure how much time passes before her body reaches its limits. She's shivering and so tired she can barely breathe, and honestly feeling pretty queasy from being tumbled about so much. She lays down on the wet sand out of reach of the waves until she can catch her breath. Her ribs are sore. Chloe's got to be wiped out by now, too. She's been doing this for longer than Max has. Max expects her friend to drop down beside her any moment. She waits and waits. Eventually, Max drags herself into a sitting position. There's Chloe, still charging into the waves. "Hey," Max calls out to her when she can draw enough air into her aching lungs. "Chloe!" Chloe runs at another wave, swinging her fists at the water and yelling at the top of her voice. "Chloe!" Max calls again. "Captain Bluebeard," she tries when that doesn't work. If Chloe can hear her over her own yelling, she doesn't show it. She runs into wave after wave, punching and kicking until the water rips her from the ground and swallows her whole. Max's chest feels heavy, as if the weight of the entire ocean were bearing down on her ribs. She shivers and draws her arms around her knees. She's still wearing Chloe's sweatshirt. It's completely drenched, like all of Max's clothes underneath it, and holding in more cold than warmth. Unthinking, she sticks the end of its drawstring between her lips and starts anxiously chewing it and sucking the salt water from it. Chloe looks angry. The way she pounds her body against the waves like she's trying to hit them harder than they hit her. Max isn't sure she's ever seen Chloe look so angry. She's seen her mad, of course. Chloe's got a short fuse. Max has seen her go flying off the handle more times than she can count. She spews steam like an overheated kettle, and then after a few minutes it's all out of her system and she's done. But this, Max hasn't seen this before. This is white-hot rage that just keeps burning and burning. This is a full-bodied assault against the ocean itself. And all that Max can think is, she knows. She knows that Max is leaving her. She knows about Max's confusion. She knows everything. Somehow, she knows. Max can't breathe. She's sitting on the shore, but she's drowning. Chloe isn't touching her, but she feels every lash of Chloe's fist, every kick of her feet. Chloe's sweatshirt feels like 100-pound weight on Max's chest, an ice-cold straitjacket holding her in place. She trembles uncontrollably. "Chloe," she chokes out weakly. The word is lost beneath the sound of the waves and Chloe's ceaseless screaming. Chloe doesn't stop. Maybe she can't stop. "Chloe," Max pleads, her voice shaking but louder. She tastes salt on her lips and doesn't know if it's bay water or tears. Chloe is gone. She's lost. She's the force of the waves as they pound the shore. She's the relentlessness of the tide, the strength of the currents. Chaos, fury, destruction. "Chloe!" It's a gasp, a cry, salt wet and warm, tears running down Max's face, cutting hot through the cold of her skin. Every time Chloe is swallowed by the waves, Max holds her breath until she surfaces again. She's going to disappear. She's going to be taken into the body of the water, and Max will never see her again. "Chloe!" Max moves without thinking, without really even feeling it. Her bare feet churn the sand as she runs faster than she ever has in gym class. Her arms, normally so weak, are impossibly strong as she wraps them around Chloe and holds her safe, drags her, screaming and squalling, away from the waves. "What are you doing?" Chloe demands. Max doesn't have an answer. She wrestles Chloe to the sand, her legs rubber, and holds her there until she stops resisting, holds her until Chloe's breathing calms. Max's breathing doesn't calm. She shakes. She gulps down air like each breath might be her last. "Hey." Chloe doesn't sound angry anymore. She sounds embarrassed and maybe a little scared. She asks again, gently this time. "Max, dude, what are you doing?" "I thought I was going to lose you." Max can barely recognize her own voice, raw and shuddering and wet against Chloe's shoulder. Chloe freezes and is silent, and again Max thinks she knows. She should pull away, but then Chloe will see how much she's crying and it'll only make things worse. After a long while, much too long, Chloe rests a hesitant hand on Max's back. "Max, hey, I wasn't really gonna..." Her voice stutters out, uncertain. She lets out a heavier sigh than any 14-year-old should be capable of. Her arms wrap around Max, thin and cold, skin prickling with goosebumps. "I wasn't," she promises softly. Her breath, at least, is warm. She nuzzles her cold cheek against the side of Max's head and squeezes her tightly. Max's heart is imploding. Her stomach is twisting tighter and tighter. She doesn't know if she's going to laugh, or cry even harder, or scream, or throw up. Her chest fills with a boiling hot wave of guilt and shame, spreading out into her arms until she can't feel her fingers anymore. She remembers the giddy feeling of clinging to Chloe's shoulder months ago, the smell of gingerbread, her cheeks smarting from the impact of an off-target mistletoe kiss. She remembers the long drive to her grandparents' house hours later, the way her giddiness settled into nausea and dread. She remembers tiptoeing downstairs for a glass of water that night, an overheard conversation between her parents. "It's that Price girl. She's confusing her." Maybe it'll be easier in Seattle. Maybe she won't be confused anymore. Somehow that thought only makes Max feel worse. A lump catches in her throat. Chloe's arms tighten around her again. Comforting words are whispered into her ear, that familiar voice. They could run away, Max thinks wildly. They could get on the bus and go somewhere, anywhere else. She doesn't have to go to Seattle. She doesn't have to leave Chloe. The two of them could run away today, right now, together. No separate schools, no separate cities. She'd be scared, probably, but Chloe would protect her. They'd find somewhere to live, get jobs, be like grown-ups, and just live happily ever after. But girls don't do that. Girls don't make homes together. They don't come home after work and talk about how their days were and cook dinner together and laugh. They don't adopt pets together and name them after characters from their favorite movie. They don't raise kids together, have backyard barbecues with the whole family, invite the neighbors over. Girls don't do any of those things together. Any of the things that Max catches herself daydreaming about, wondering about, wishing about. Max knows girls don't do those things together. She's known it for years. Ever since that time when she was 8 and let some of those thoughts slip to her mother, not thinking there was anything wrong or strange about it. About how she wanted to live with Chloe forever when they grew up, and build a house with her and have a family with her. A dog, 2 cats, an Arabian horse, and, if Chloe had her way, an otter. 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls. She had names for all of them and everything. Girls don't do that. A boy and a girl do that when they grow up and get married. When girls grow up, they live apart, even best friends. She's known since that time, and hundreds of other times since. Hundreds of overheard conversations, hundreds of subtle comments dropped to remind her. She's known it for so long, so why is it impossible to remember sometimes? Why is it so hard to believe it when Chloe's holding on to her? This was bound to happen sooner or later. They'd grow up and they'd have to live apart. It's what girls do. Max had hoped that they'd have a few more years together before the inevitable happened. Or maybe forever. Instead, they have 1 month. 1 month of separate schools, of Max sitting through classes that won't matter soon with no best friend by her side. 1 month of crying as she packs her bags in secret, too chicken shit to tell Chloe the truth. 1 month of swallowed words, of not knowing what to say even though she needs to tell her best friend, her only friend, she's leaving. 1 month. 1 month of sleepovers. 1 month of pillow forts and staying up too late, of watching bad movies together and whispering secrets in the dark. 1 month of meeting up the second they get out of school so they can spend as much time together as possible, because otherwise the day would be wasted. 1 month of autumn walks together, taking pictures of Chloe trampling leaves, laughing together, holding hands. 1 last month of having a best friend. If they only have this 1 month of friendship left to them, Max doesn't want to waste 1 more second. I think, she whispers into Chloe's shoulder, I think we got him. Huh? Max rubs her face against Chloe's shoulder. Chloe's t-shirt is too wet to dry Max's tears, but at least it can wipe them away so they're not so obvious. The Kraken. I think we got him. Showed that overgrown squid who rules these bays of Arcadia. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, we did. We should celebrate with a feast. Chloe chuckles. I wonder if Dad's ever grilled a giant squid. Max crinkles up her nose. Ew. Too slimy. What, you don't want to eat our fallen foe and consume his power? Chloe scoffs. Okay, fine, you wimp. We'll make do with burgers and hot dogs, I guess. Max cheers. Hooray! Chloe abruptly squeezes her so hard Max worries that her ribs will bruise. She doesn't worry too much, though. She squeezes back just as hard. She wishes time would stop, that it would freeze right here, her and Chloe on the beach, holding each other with all of their strength for all eternity. But the moment ends mere seconds after it began. They loosen their grips on each other and get up from the sand. Chloe's far sandier than Max's, but she cares less, hardly bothering to wipe the wet sand from her legs. Ugh, she grumbles. Mom's gonna throw a shit fit when she sees these clothes. She reaches over to Max and wrings some water out of the hood of her sweatshirt. Man, this thing's drenched, she chuckles. She'll probably make us get changed before we can eat any barbecue. Chloe nods thoughtfully. True. Her eyes sparkle as she grins. If she catches us before we get our food, that is. You up for a stealth mission, Long Max Silver? Logically, they should really get cleaned off and changed first. Max is freezing in her borrowed sweatshirt, heavy with cold, brackish water. She's covered with sand. She can taste it between her teeth. But Chloe's grin is just so irresistible. How could she possibly turn down an adventure with her best friend now? You bet, Captain Bluebeard. As they walk toward the trees to reclaim Max's backpack, Chloe slings an arm around Max's shoulder and starts plotting their daring mission to sneak behind enemy lines and steal barbecue undetected. Max slides her own arm around Chloe's back and nods along with her plans. She knows it'll never work. Chloe's mom has a sixth sense for detecting mischief. They'll probably be spotted halfway down the street and immediately be sent upstairs to shower and change into dry clothes. Chloe obviously knows it too, since her plans grow increasingly elaborate to the point of impossibility, involving superpowers and explosives and all sorts of ridiculous things. But whether the plan will work or not doesn't matter in the slightest. All that matters in this moment is that Max is spending time with her best friend, planning their next adventure. Chloe is safe and calm, and Max is still here with her, and she's going to hold on to her for as long as she can. Whew. Notes. Thank you to my partner Velmax for betaing.
Yay!
And thank you to everyone who rode the Spiels train with us. Whew. All right.
You had a missed opportunity there to talk about riding the feels wave.
Oh, I suppose I could edit it.
Oh my god. Hello. That is a wide angle.
Yes, it is. All right.
Let's see what's going on in the chat.
Okay. Fisher Pricefield is a genius tag. Yes, I forget who came up with that. It definitely wasn't me. I cannot take credit for Fisher Pricefield. I think I saw it like on a Tumblr post or something. I was like, ooh, I love it. Making Max blush is definitely not something Chloe will carry on into adulthood. That totally not gay moment where you put on your bestie's hoodie and contemplate her scent. Yeah. Helicopter Mom Vanessa. Yeah, that definitely, like, that is always how Vanessa's text messages read to me. Is that she, like, probably did not want Max to go back to Arcadia Bay. She wanted her to stay home. It's like, you know, come home, anything happens, come home where I can control you. Oh yeah, disturbing Gideon. I'm kind of surprised she didn't get startled more often with all the pirate voices. I guess she's just used to us doing silly voice. But I knew that, like, the banshee scream was going to be a problem. Ooh, and LPS Cake Pop, hello. This part reminds me of Chloe jumping in the ocean and Now That the World Is Over. Totally different, but cool to compare them. Yeah, thank you. I have a thing about jumping in the ocean, apparently. Like, if there's an ocean, I'm gonna have a character, probably Chloe, jump in it. It comes up in a lot of my fics. It's in this one, obviously, Now That the World Is Over. Oh gosh, there's one of my Price Marsh ones, I think. They're about to, but it cuts off before they actually go into the ocean, but it's absolutely gonna happen.
Does that happen in Golden Hour?
It definitely happens in the Golden Hour. Yes, thank you. I was trying to remember. I was like, I know there's at least one more where Chloe jumps in the ocean.
At least.
The Golden Hour. Yes. Yes. So I guess the Golden Hour was the first time that I did that, but yeah. Mia saying, oh no, the Caulfield's being homophobic. Yeah. Internalized homophobia is so real. Yeah. My heart, it's shattered and full at the same time. Yeah, that's, I think, pretty much always what I'm aiming for with my Life is Strange fix. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mia, and hopefully others. Laser says, I've probably commented this before, but your ability to capture the mind of a 13 to 14-year-old is really impressive to me. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know why I can write 13 and 14-year-olds, because I barely remember that age myself, but... Yeah. Did you have a comment, hon?
I was gonna say that those... I don't know.
So it's something about me being immature?
No. I mean, you are kind of immature.
Little bit, yeah.
It could be that, like, I don't know if, like, getting sick at 15, like, kind of made you... Not that it stunted your emotional growth or anything.
It probably did.
Well, actually, yeah.
Yes, it absolutely did. So for those who don't know, I got sick when I was 15, and we still don't know for sure what exactly it was. The diagnosis that stuck the best was chronic fatigue syndrome, and it basically took me out of commission from the ages of, like, 15 to 19-ish. So, like, I had to drop out of high school in the middle of 10th grade and stuff like that. So, I guess extra impressive that I can write this age group when, like, I did not have a very normal, like, teen experience. Laser says, I forget a lot of the time that kids have not sorted out what feelings even are, and you did that very well, so that's definitely part of it. Thank you. I think one of the things that I'm most interested in writing about is, like, how complicated feelings can be and how unclear they are, which is one of the reasons why I love writing Rachel, because, like, even as an 18-year-old or older, like, what even does she feel, ever? So yeah, I find, like, ambiguous and confusing emotions to be really interesting to write. Yeah.
I was also gonna add a comment about Chloe throwing herself into the waves and getting slammed on the shore is totally a thing that we've done.
Oh,
at least
absolutely.
Once ourselves.
Yeah.
Just like going to the beach, jump into the waves, whee! Boom!
Oh, yeah. No, it's absolutely, like, it's one of those things that, like, I have Chloe do it because I have done it. It's like, this seems like something that Chloe would love. It's something that I have enjoyed, but also that every time I do it, it feels like it's going to kill me. So I have, like, more of the max level on that, where it's like, I kind of want to do this, but also I might die. Yeah, thank you, Mia. Yeah, it was not a great time in my life. Adolescence sucked, and not for the normal reasons. But yeah, I don't know. I have salvaged quite a lot of life since then. I've got, this house and this wonderful partner and our beautiful kittens. Hi, Miss. Mm-hmm. She's been so good. What a patient girl. Just hanging out there, only really getting startled once. That was when I was literally, like, yelling. They are not used to... They're used to, like, somewhat raised voices at them every now and then, especially when Little Bear is chewing on things he should not be chewing on, or when Gideon is chewing on things she should not be chewing on. But they don't really get yelling in here. Laser says, I thought the jumping into the waves thing was symbolic of everything they go through in the game. Chloe alone, Max joining and helping. I mean, sure, you can feel free to read stuff into it that is far deeper than what I was thinking. Maybe subconsciously, yes. Yes. I think, for me, like, Chloe jumping into the water is just kind of her, like, reckless and impulsive nature. But also, like, in this one specifically, it is also, like, Chloe going through turmoil, and that's why she kind of, like, really kind of loses herself in this one. Usually when I write her jumping in the bay, at least half the time when I write her jumping in the bay, it's more joyful and just kind of like, in the Golden Hour and in the Price Marsh one, it's just kind of something she's doing for fun. She wants to do it. And then in this one, it was much more of like what can I have Chloe do that's gonna freak out Max and kind of hint at Chloe's suicidal impulses. So I guess in this one it did have more meaning than I frequently do put on it. Me asked, do you think Life is Strange resonates with you because it helps you reconnect to those lost years? I mean, maybe, although it certainly isn't a very normal high school either, from what I gather about high schools. I mean, if anything, it probably makes me think more of, like, how I was in my early 20s. But, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, I think it more resonates with me because it's gay. And Chloe is also absolutely, like, I had... In like, the first few years of college, all through college, really, I had such crushes on so many girls who were in some way like Chloe, just like super punk, had a lot of issues, so many issues. So honestly, it probably resonates with me more because like I have had so many crushes on girls like Chloe. But I didn't really know a lot of Chloe types in high school, in the like year and a half that I was in high school. Yeah, I also just like sad stories. Obviously, since I mostly write sad stories. Yeah.
I have to say, I really,
Mia says, from a trans perspective, I get strong nostalgia for an adolescence I never had, if that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, I have kind of like almost the opposite thing, because like I was, you know, I am AFAB, and I was raised and like mostly not civilized. What is the word I'm looking for?
Repressed.
Repressed. No, socialized as female, and like that's super not me. So like for me, Life is Strange, the reason why I don't have like a Jane Doe shirt or anything like that is a lot of the styling and stuff is very feminine. Like all scoop necks and, you know, soft colors and stuff like that. And it's all very like coded female. And so it doesn't like click with me quite as much. And that's why like the one shirt that I have that like is a shirt from a Life is Strange game is like Chloe's, or I guess Rachel's, Raven hair shirt from Before the Storm. And that's just a really badass shirt, and it's not super feminine. The version that I have it is just like a unisex t-shirt with a regular, you know, crew neck. It's not a scoop. It doesn't have the little snippet out of it that Chloe's actual shirt has. But yeah, I yeah, as Rain confirms, it absolutely does make sense. Like I could definitely see that, and I'm curious, because there does seem to be quite a few trans female fans of Life is Strange, so I doubt that you're alone in that at all. Yeah.
I have to say that I really love in the story the moment where Max's internal panic that is something like Chloe knows, and like that sense of like feeling exposed I think is really powerful.
Thank you.
But this just like the tension of Max not wanting to tell Chloe but thinking Chloe already knows maybe, but also not, or is it,
yeah,
and it's
like
just,
Chloe knows and she's mad.
Yeah, that is also a very you.
Yes.
You kind of mental leap.
Yeah. I mean, this was really, this story for me, I kind of let out a lot of my Max headcanons and a lot of like Max's anxiety and panic, which like I have a mixed anxiety and panic disorder, so like I forgot to do content warnings at the beginning of this, so I hope everyone was okay with it. I did put it in the description at least, but yeah, like, when I do descriptions of anxiety and panic, it's coming from real life. Like, that is stuff I know far too well. And, yeah, I wanted to kind of explore, like, how Max's anxiety is going to ultimately, like, her anxiety and her internalized homophobia / biphobia impacts, like, why she loses touch with Chloe. Because obviously she still loves Chloe. She still wants to be her best friend forever, but also she's been fed all this stuff that, like, you're gonna have to split up at some point. You need to, not be so gay about this. Obviously, her parents would not use that, phrasing because they would not admit to themselves that Max is queer. I always kind of headcanon the Caulfields as being very like, oh no, we're totally liberal, we're totally, gays are fine as long as our daughter is not one. Very, very lip service liberal. They don't think they're homophobic, they just don't want their daughter to be queer. And basically just how the anxiety and the internalized biphobia and all of that basically is going to make it really difficult for Max to not just drift away and leave Chloe on her own. And then also rereading this, because I had meant to reread it last night and then just never got around to it, so seeing a little reference to the infamous mistletoe incident of 2007. I had forgotten about that because I think that reference actually had kind of come from you, Velmax. Because if you haven't read that one, that's a Christmas story that I wrote, which was also a reference to a throwaway line from The Golden Hour. Mm-hmm. It's all part of the Ghost in the Hella cinematic universe. But basically where sorry, got a spam bot from Twitch. It's a story where Max and Chloe kind of have a first kiss under the mistletoe, but it kind of goes awry. It's not really a great, like, it's more of a impact than a kiss. And the story ends on a very, like, kind of up note, and Valmax was like, it seems like they're heading in a really good direction, but we know from canon that, like, Max is going to disappear. Why does Max disappear? And I didn't want to tack on a depressing ending to that story, because I really, it's one, that story
have something.
God, also that story just about killed me. Like, writing that story was excruciating. I don't know why I continued writing holiday stories after that one, except they come out pretty good sometimes. The infamous mistletoe incident of 2007 was an ordeal to write, and I think I tried writing an ending that kind of implied why they're going to be on a downswing again. It just didn't feel right. So when I wrote this, it's like, okay, I'll have a reference to the infamous mistletoe incident of 2007 that shows the aftermath of that, which is, the awkward car ride to her grandparents, and then overhearing her parents being like, that Price girl, just confusing her. Chloe Price turning our daughter gay. Because, that's how it works, right? Yeah.
I think there's a fun... I use the word fun probably very grossly inappropriately. But I think there's a fun headcanon to make here based on all the, like, anti-queer messaging that Vanessa's giving Max, and, like, the way that she's couching it in, like, no, this is what girls do. They grow up and they grow apart. That, like, maybe Vanessa had a
interesting.
BFF, and her mother or parents ripped her out of that situation, and she's still, like, salty about it, so she doesn't want, like, Max to have
repressed queer Vanessa.
Repressed queer
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Oh my god. I kind of love it. Laser, I'm sorry, wait, why was it so hard? it was a few years ago now that I wrote it, so I don't really remember exactly. Just trying to get all the different moving pieces to work was really challenging. Trying to capture, like, all the different voices. I think also just trying to get my head around writing a Christmas story when, like, Christmas has been a challenging, it has rarely been the happiest time of the year for me, I guess. I should say. I think mostly just, growing up Jewish in a small town where nobody else is Jewish. And just so it always was kind of like that time of year where everybody else, is celebrating, but your holiday is nothing. So I think that was also challenging for me, just like getting my head around the fact that I'm writing a Christmas story and it's gonna be cute. I think it was also, was it the first time that I wrote young Chloe and Max? I forget if I wrote, hang on, I've got 803 open. Did I write the infamous mistletoe incident first, or did I write Different in a Good Way first? Which was also very challenging. Like, it took me a long time to really get into my stride of, like, writing young Max and Chloe. And, like, Please Don't Be My Valentine, which was one of my first Amber Price fics, and also, like, I think it was my first time ever writing anything from a Rachel point of view, and that was also, like, I love that story now. It's one of my favorites that I've written, but it was also really, really challenging to write.
You also had to do William and Joyce.
I did. I also had to figure out how to write William and Joyce.
Plus, the holiday ones have an implicit deadline built in that...
Okay, Different in a Good Way was November 2nd, 2018. Okay, so I had written Different in a Good Way first. The infamous mistletoe incident of 2007 was January 10th, 2019. Well, then I don't know. Oh, thank you, Mia, saying I do holiday stories extremely well, going by this evidence. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I keep coming back to them, even though they're challenging to write. And I think also the stress of trying to do something on a deadline, that was probably the big thing with the infamous mistletoe incident. It's like, I want to do this by Christmas, I want to do this by Christmas, and then, obviously, it didn't come out until January 10th. There's just so much editing. Mia also likes the idea of repressed queer Vanessa. Well, we know, Mia, we know how you feel about MILFs, so.
Late in life, lesbian Vanessa. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I stand it. It says, stay away from Chloe. I don't want you to catch the gay. And I guess you liked Different in a Good Way? I did. I enjoyed that one. I can't remember how the process of writing that one was.
Was that the Chipwich?
Yes, that was the Chipwich one. I feel like that one was at least partially fun. And Ghost likes jumping in the ocean. Yes. Yes. The ocean doesn't seem to like me jumping in it, but I like jumping in the ocean. I also grew up, like, swimming in Lake George. So, like, that was literally where I learned how to swim. So I think I've just got a thing about, like, part of the youth experience is swimming in, like, natural bodies of water. And just messing around. Go start writing queer YA, please. Tempting. Tempting. I don't know if I'd be able to keep the word count down enough.
That's what series are for.
Maybe. Laser and Mia also seconded. All right, then. I'll have to start writing queer YA, in addition to the queer romance novels I can't seem to finish. But, yeah, what time is it now? 1:18. Okay. Still got some time. Oh, nice. Laser has also been to Lake George. Oh, I had to go to a church camp around there. Whew. I don't think I ever had to go to church camp, which is good. I definitely went to a summer camp there. My dad's family used to live in the Lake George area. And we'd go and visit in the summers, hence me learning how to swim there. I know I went to a camp at least once or twice, but I don't think it did not seem churchy to me. Oh, have a good one, Mia. I'm glad you were able to join us.
You would have noticed if it was churchy.
I would have noticed if it was churchy. It's true. Yeah, I don't think my parents would have put me in something churchy. Oh, Rain, Rachel feels dead inside. I mean... there are so many comments I could make about Rachel feels dead inside. Yeah, before I wrap things up, does anybody have any other questions or comments or any such things? Ooh, can we expect more of these in the future? I love this, seriously. Aww. More of the live, the Ghost Stories live? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely quicker than editing the pre-recorded ones. I do, like, every other Thursday I have a commitment, so I can't do it, like, every week. But yeah, I'll do more of these. Absolutely. And I'll also do more of the, like, pre-recorded and edited ones, because, like, the main reason why I started doing podfic was so that, like, folks with visual impairments and such, or who just prefer to listen to things, can still have access to them. And these they're fun. They're definitely more, I guess, spontaneous than the pre-recorded ones, and have more, like, you know, me messing up words or stuttering or things like that. So it's a little smoother, the pre-recorded and edited ones, for the purposes of folks with visual impairments and such. So probably keep doing a mix of both.
You're a great storyteller.
I like reading out loud. I always have. Like, I was that kid in class where, like, you know, when the teacher is looking for, like, okay, who wants to read? Everybody else is like, I don't want to. It's like, I'll read out loud. I hate talking in front of people, but if it's not, you know, if I'm just reading from a book, that's fine. I'll do it.
I don't know if you remember, but I know that I'm pretty sure that I guess I ended up suggesting the song for it.
Oh, for Set to Break?
For Set to Break.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't actually listen to Interpol. Like, I know they exist, but I don't know any of their music. I think I listened to the song Set to Break, like, once. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that definitely works.
Yeah. And did you, do you remember if you had something different in mind and I said, no, you need to use this song instead, or? I
think it was one of the ones where it's like, I have no idea what to call this thing. Do you have any ideas? Or, I mean, I do have a lot of songs that, like, reference water. But I don't know that any of them were really a good fit for this one. And then you suggested Set to Break. I was like, oh. Or you might have just suggested the song. I forget if you suggested specifically that line.
I probably suggested the song, which is called The Lighthouse, which is obviously
very anything with a lighthouse is going to be Life is Strange.
And it mentions a storm, and then the lines are something like, and let the waves have their way now, which...
Yeah, that was probably what made you reference it, because that was when you actually had enough time to beta read all my fic. Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Yeah. I do kind of miss it, but I'm also too impatient now.
Yeah.
It's like, I finally finished writing this after half a year. Put it on AO3.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciate you taking the suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate the suggestion. It was a good one. Mm-hmm. I think it works really well for this.
Yeah, it's one of the albums that I really like that's on, so yeah.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I need to go back through all of my old fics now that I know how to actually make links in the text and actually link songs to the titles. Laser says you can actually pronounce Chloe's name and you can say things like awesome sauce. I do try. I do try. I'm trying to remember if I had any other thoughts on the story that I wanted to share. Definitely. The fan theories of how the Caulfields are, I think, is kind of the big thing with this. I also really enjoyed putting in Chloe's favorite sweatshirt and all of that stuff. I still haven't actually finished writing it, but there is a fic that I was working on for a while that I really do want to get back to that eventually, that had Max taking Chloe's favorite sweatshirt with her when she goes to Seattle. Lizard says, I think you missed the first part of my comment. Yeah, I don't think the first part of the comment ever came up, and Rain's comments are coming in late. I did think that seemed, that Rain's were coming in a little off the usual pace. I think it must just be something going on with YouTube, perhaps, today, where the timing is just off. So, apologies for that. Could be our internet. Who knows? It has been raining most of the day. The other good thing about the pre-recorded ones is that I can cut out the instances of trucks going by and making loud noises. All right. So I think we're about ready to call it a day. Thank you all so much for hanging out, for all the comments and questions, etc., etc. I hope you all enjoyed it. Rain, I'm assuming another one coming in late. I know a lot of trans femme people who had Life is Strange crack their egg. Yeah, that definitely seems to be a thing. Which is awesome. That's kind of fantastic. I don't know that it's what Don't Nod were intending, but who gives a fuck? Really, really good unintended consequences of a story. It says, oh wow, the broadcast just caught up for me. This must have been really weird for everyone, lol. It was a little bit. Just a little. But it's not your fault. Such is life.
Now that's a latency issue.
But
30-minute latency.
30-minute latency. Ah, story of my life.
Gotta wait for the satellite to come back around.
All right. Rain, thanks, YouTube. It's the new thanks, Obama, right? Thanks, YouTube. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining and participating, and I hope for enjoying. We will do this again soon. I don't know when yet, but we will do this again soon. And then on Monday at 6:30, unless we get another storm, but ideally at 6:30, we will do more Chinatown Detective Agency. Woo. And we'll have to choose. We'll have to do a couple more missions, and then we'll have to choose whether we're following Rupert, Tiger Lily, or Kieran?
Kieran? I
Kieran,
was thinking
I think?
Kieran.
Yeah, I think Kieran. So we'll have to choose whose missions we're going to keep following. But yeah, there will be more Mystery Mondays of May. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good time zone, and I will see you soon.